He still died for all of us. If he's capable of dying on the cross, knowing that we could still betray him, turn away from him, not accept him, what is he not capable of doing to help us through our pain, to heal our pain, to fill our hearts with his love? What kind of a God would he be if he can just turn away and walk away and say, you know what, I'm tired of you guys? That's the deception. That is when I found out who the Lord Jesus really is, and I experienced his love in my heart. My life, I really believe, I'm convinced actually, when you experience his love in your heart, in the way I did, your life can never remain the same. Because it's love that neither mom, even though my mom and dad loved me, I never even experienced that with them. I have a lot of friends that love me. I never experienced that with them. It's love that goes beyond our understanding. In fact, when I experienced his love, and it was in Medjugorje, when I was, it was a pilgrimage kind of a setting, even though I wasn't on a pilgrimage, I just happened to be backpacking and went through there. When I experienced his love, all I could do was weep. It was that overwhelming.
Tell us that story.
Yeah, tell us the story.
Tell us all the way.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I need to hear
And I was very touched by it, and it's really amazing. And I was awed, and I was sort of jealous because I was, why haven't you revealed yourself to me, Lord? But at the same time, I was hopeful that someday the Lord will reveal himself to me and that I will have that closeness that you have found.
Right.
So tell us that story, because it's beautiful.
Because you went through a transformation of consciousness during then.
Completely.
So,
Yeah.
but we want to see that journey, spiritually, physically, as best you could describe
and it's here. So
yeah, it's in my book
it's in
for
the
sure
book.
in details, because
Yeah.
there's a lot that happens that I can't cover even in the hour that follows. It's a lot of details. But just to sum it up, so we have time?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
To sum it up,
Definitely.
let me go back to high school, because that's where it started, just to show you how the Lord acts in our life.
Yeah.
Good.
I was a sophomore in high school in Sacramento. My parents had an Arabic Middle Eastern restaurant. And somebody brought to them at that time, this is the year 1985, so I was only 15 years old. Again, I didn't know God from the heart, I just knew him from the head, just to give you a little bit of background. They brought to my parents a tape. Remember the cassettes that we used to have? Are outdated. Yeah. And they said, hey, you know, these are the tapes from a client that came in, that he had a daughter that had cancer and she was about to die. And he said that he took her to this place in Europe, and back then it used to be the country of Yugoslavia. Now it's, the country has broken apart. But it's a communist country, where he said that our Blessed Mother, the mother of Jesus, allegedly back then was appearing to 6 young children. So if you're familiar with Guadalupe, the apparitions of Guadalupe, or Fatima of Lourdes, it's kind of a similar story.
Okay.
But it was happening in modern day, our world. And this, so he gave him the cassette and said, in thanksgiving to our Blessed Mother for the healing that happened, because she interceded for his daughter, and obviously God is the only healer, but that his daughter was miraculously healed. He wanted to talk about his story and what was happening there. So, and he's an Egyptian man. So this cassette came to us all the way from Egypt to Sacramento, California.
Oh.
Wow.
And I don't know why. I took this tape, dubbed it, and kept a copy in my room to listen to it. God's grace. That's all I can say. I felt I needed to hear the tapes, and I did. Took it in my room, I listened to it, and in a nutshell, what the tape was saying is the following: that our Blessed Mother Mary has been appearing in this town called Medjugorje in Yugoslavia since 1981, June 24th, 1981, to 6 children. And she was appearing to them daily, asking them to tell the world to come back to God. It's a call to call back, to reconcile the children, God's children, with God. It's not about her at all. She only points to Jesus. She's kind of misunderstood sometimes. Her only thing is to point to Jesus, to bring him closer. She knows her son, and she knows how much he loves us. And so she was calling people back to prayer, back to God, and to reconcile with God, because we were heading in the wrong direction as a humanity. And we're distancing ourselves from God, and we don't have peace, and we can't have peace without God. It's impossible. And so she said the following thing, and that's what struck a nerve in me. She said in 1985, if people pray a prayer called the Rosary, which is meditation on the life of Jesus from the moment of conception until his resurrection, and it's a Rosary prayer. It's kind of like a summary of the gospel. If people pray the Rosary every day, she said, Russia will convert and communism will collapse. In 1985, if you remember, we didn't call it Russia. I grew up after World War II where we called it the Soviet Union. So when she said Russia, I said, Russia? Why is she calling it Russia? We were in the midst of the Cold War. Do you remember? We were.
So it hadn't yet been called
No,
Russia?
Russia came into the 90s, early 90s. So it was the Cold War, Soviet Union versus you remember how we used to see those movies, USSR versus the United States, and the tension and the Cold War? And she said,
Khrushchev.
yeah, and she said, and communism will collapse. And back then, communism